Many people live in fear of being alone, and so they compromise who they are, not because they want to, but because somewhere deep inside they believe that the real version of themselves isn't enough. They believe that if they don't shrink a little, smooth the rough edges, hide the cracks, and put on a mask that fits society's expectation, they will be rejected, abandoned, forgotten. But here is the question that shatters all illusion. What if the parts you are most ashamed of, the insecurities, the shadows, the pain, are not your weakness, but your passage to greatness? What if the very traits you try so hard to conceal are the keys to becoming unforgettable? There is no true luxury without depth. We may look at the surface of a polished gem and admire its shine, but we forget the violence that shaped it. The diamond was not born in comfort. It was not found lying on the surface of the earth. It was formed in the suffocating darkness, under pressure so great it could crush bones, hidden for centuries before it could be discovered and refined. And just like that, your soul is no less precious. Your struggles, your grief, the nights you cried alone, the silence you were forced to endure, these did not make you weak. They made you rare. To be rare is to be misunderstood, to walk a path few have the strength to follow. And those who have tasted their own darkness and chosen to rise are the ones who carry something priceless, authentic depth. And depth, not perfection, is the essence of true luxury. I remember a woman I met some years ago. She had experienced a profound betrayal. Not just the kind that wounds the heart, but the kind that fractures your identity. A betrayal by someone she trusted with her soul. Most people would have buried it, tried to move on, pretended to be okay, because that's what we're taught to do. Keep smiling, stay productive, show strength. But she didn't. She let herself fall, not into despair, but into the truth of her pain. She didn't run from the darkness. She sat with it. She journaled her grief. She cried when she needed to. She confronted the parts of her psyche that had long been silent. And slowly, from those broken pieces, she began to build something extraordinary. Out of her pain, she birthed a vision, a luxury coaching brand for powerful women, those who looked polished on the outside but carried hidden wounds. She didn't market a service, she embodied healing. She offered her story, her scars, her vulnerability, and in doing so became a mirror for the transformation others were yearning for. She was paid thousands, yes, but not for what she did. She was paid because of who she became, because she transformed her shadow into wisdom, because she bled before she healed others. You see, when someone has walked through the fire and chosen not to be consumed by it, they carry a certain stillness, a gravity. You feel it in their presence. They don't need to speak loudly. Their energy does the talking. They don't seek validation. They are anchored in themselves, and this is what sets them apart. This is what makes them luxurious. The world is starving for authenticity. We scroll through polished images, listen to edited voices, follow curated perfection, but our souls know the difference between performance and presence, between filters and truth. And when you've done the inner work, not for applause, not to impress, but because you needed to come home to yourself, you become magnetic, not because you're flawless, but because you are real. And real is rare, and rare is luxury. To be seen as a luxury, you must first see yourself as one, but not in the superficial way, not through status, appearance, or achievements. You must go inward, into the uncomfortable corners, into the wounds you thought you had to hide, into the places where your worth was once questioned. Because the truth is, you were never broken, you were buried. And your healing is not about becoming someone new. It's about removing everything that was never really you. There is a silence in you that holds answers louder than the world's noise. There's a strength in you that was forged, not taught. You may not even see it yet because you're still focused on what you lost, on what didn't work, on who left. But the ones who left rejected the version of you that refused to shrink for them. That too is part of the transformation. When you begin to honor your own journey, when you no longer apologize for your truth, you shift the way the world responds to you. People feel when you respect yourself. They notice when your energy is no longer seeking approval, but radiating alignment. It makes them pause. It makes them feel. And in a world that's obsessed with making people forget themselves, someone who reminds you of who you are, that person is a luxury. Think of the greatest pieces of art, music, literature. They are not great because they are technically perfect. They are great because they carry soul, because you can feel the human being behind them. The tears, the longing, the madness, the beauty, the contradiction. You feel the depth. That is what people remember, not surface substance, not polish, presence. You must understand the world cannot value what you disown within yourself. If you want to be seen as priceless, you must treat your story like it's sacred. You must stop diluting your essence to make others comfortable. You must stop editing your spirit to fit in rooms not meant for you. When you carry yourself like a person who has already seen the abyss and survived it, you don't chase people, you attract them. You don't need to prove anything, you simply are. And that being becomes your signature. This isn't about arrogance, it's about alignment. A flower does not apologize for blooming. The ocean does not ask permission to rise. And you were never meant to be small. Your presence is a ceremony, your truth is a portal, and the moment you recognize that, truly recognize it, the world will too. Luxury is not a label, it is a state of consciousness, a quiet, unshakable knowing, I am whole, I am worthy, I am not here to be tolerated, I am here to be treasured. Am I talking shit? You probably are in, but you're talking shit now. If you're not busy in your life, not by everyone, but by the few who can see. And that is the highest form of power. Luxury is not mass-produced. It is not accessible to everyone because it is not meant to be. Its value comes not from volume, but from rarity, not from pleasing everyone, but from standing alone in its singular truth. To become luxury, one must understand that the path to being desired is not paved with availability, but with discernment. That which is always present, always eager, always open to all, is overlooked, not because it lacks worth, but because it lacks boundaries. There is a deep truth that most people ignore because it's uncomfortable. When you make yourself constantly available, you are training the world to treat your time, your energy, and your presence as ordinary. And when something is seen as ordinary, it becomes invisible. Not because it is truly without value, but because its value has not been protected. You may have brilliance in you. You may possess wisdom, talent, kindness, even love that could change lives. But if it is handed out without thought, if it is given without pause, it loses its shape in the eyes of others. Consider the nature of sacred things. They are hidden, protected, guarded, not because they are elitist, but because they are precious. A temple does not fling its doors open to any passerby who merely glances inside. The sacred is not advertised, it is discovered. And that discovery, that journey toward the sacred, that is what makes it unforgettable. To be treated as luxury, you must first treat yourself as something sacred, not as a service provider of emotional labor, not as a convenience for the insecure. You are not a product to be consumed. You are an experience to be earned. Look at the way luxury brands operate. They do not chase customers. They do not plead for attention. Hermes, for example, doesn't just sell bags. They sell a story, a feeling, a frequency. To even enter their world, you must demonstrate a level of alignment, of refinement. They have already decided their value. They are not trying to prove it. And that is why the world leans in. This is not about arrogance. It is about energetic standards. When you set boundaries around your presence, people pay attention. When you say no, your yes becomes meaningful. And meaning is what draws in the right people, the right opportunities, the right experiences. I once worked with a man, intelligent, kind hearted, full of vision, but he was running on empty. Why? Because he couldn't say no. He said yes to every client, even when the pay was low and the respect lower. He agreed to friendships that drained him, dates that insulted him, conversations that left him hollow. On the outside, he looked like he had it all together, the schedule, the network, the appearances, but on the inside, he was slowly fading. Because every time he said yes to something beneath his worth, he said no to himself until one day he broke. It wasn't dramatic, no explosion, no crisis, just a moment of stillness where he saw himself in the mirror and didn't recognize the man staring back. And in that quiet reckoning, something inside him shifted. He started with one thing. He began to say no. No to clients who wouldn't pay him what he was worth. No to people who only reached out when they needed something. No to events that drained his soul. No to conversations that didn't inspire or challenge or uplift. He deleted contacts from his phone, not in bitterness, in clarity. He restructured his day so that his mornings were his own. He turned off notifications. He didn't respond immediately to messages. He stopped performing. He stopped proving. And what happened? In weeks, not years, his energy shifted. He walked differently. He spoke slower, with intention. He didn't need to convince anyone of his value. It was in how he carried himself. And slowly the world began to mirror this shift back to him. Higher paying clients sought him out, not because his skills changed, but because his boundaries did. People started to respect his time. Invitations became more aligned. Even friends who once overlooked him began to lean in, curious, intrigued, almost in awe. He had not become someone else. He had become himself, with standards. This is the great paradox of luxury. The less available you make yourself to the unworthy, the more the worthy will desire your presence. But it requires risk, because when you begin to enforce your boundaries, when you start saying no, some people will walk away, and that can hurt. The ego wants to be liked. It wants to be chosen. It wants applause, but the soul wants peace. It wants integrity. It wants alignment. And so you must choose. Will you dilute yourself to be accepted by everyone, or will you refine yourself to be revered by the few who truly see you? This is not easy. There will be moments of doubt, moments when silence surrounds you, when the phone doesn't ring, when the invitations stop coming. You will question if you've made a mistake. You will wonder if shrinking back is safer. But in that silence, something sacred happens. You will meet yourself. Not the version molded by others' needs, but the version that simply is. The one that does not compromise. The one that walks with quiet power. And that power is what draws people who are ready for you. Because when you embody self-respect so deeply that it's felt in your silence, you don't need to convince anyone of anything. They feel it, and they either rise to meet you or they fall away. And both are gifts. The ones who fall away make space. The ones who rise with you are the ones who are worthy of your presence. You must stop negotiating your worth. Stop over-explaining. Stop asking for permission to be powerful. Your energy is your currency. Spend it wisely. You cannot pour into everyone and expect to feel full. Luxury means selectivity, and selectivity requires trust, not in the world, but in yourself. You are not here to be consumed. You are here to be experienced. Your presence is not a transaction. It is a transformation, but only for those who are ready to meet you where you truly are. So begin there with a single no. And in that no, reclaim a piece of yourself. Reclaim your space. Reclaim your silence. Reclaim your power. Because the moment you stop trying to be accessible to all, you begin to resonate with those who are truly aligned with your essence. And from that resonance, everything changes. You are not meant to simply live a life that begins and ends with a job title. a list of tasks, and a collection of fleeting accomplishments. You are not here to move through time like a shadow, barely noticed, blending into a world that celebrates noise but forgets meaning. You are here to represent something, to stand for something greater than routine. You are here not just to exist, but to symbolize a story, a myth, a feeling. You are here to become unforgettable. People do not remember you for what you do, not truly. They remember how you made them feel. They remember what you came to represent in their mind. Was it strength in a moment of weakness? Was it clarity in the midst of confusion? Was it the permission to be unapologetically themselves just because you had the courage to be you? We live in a world saturated with action, but starving for meaning. In 2023, a study from Harvard revealed that the emotional perception people hold of your identity has more long-term impact than your actual achievements. In simpler terms, people follow symbols, not facts, not lists, not credentials, but the essence they feel when they think of you. This is not a performance. This is integration. To move through life as a living metaphor where everything you do, everything you wear, every silence you hold becomes part of a larger story, legend unfolding. Consider Steve Jobs. His genius wasn't just in the technology he helped create, it was in what he represented. He stood for something bigger than a company. He embodied innovation, bold simplicity, disruption. He didn't just build a brand, he became one. When he walked on stage, people didn't just see a man, they saw a revolution. Even after his passing, Apple still reflects his myth, his voice, his energy. Why? Because he lived in alignment with a symbol, and that symbol became larger than the man himself. This is the path you must walk, the path of embodiment. You must choose with absolute clarity what you represent. Are you resilience? Then let even your silence radiate strength. Are you wisdom? Then let your presence calm the noise. Are you fire? Let your eyes speak before your words do. Whatever it is, choose it, claim it, and then live so fully in alignment with that truth that people feel it before you speak. Because the truth is, people are not looking for more faces, they are looking for feelings. They are looking for meaning in human form. And when you become that, when you carry your story with conviction, your essence with discipline, you stop being someone they meet. You become someone they remember. But this path is not for the faint-hearted. To become a symbol, you must walk through your own contradictions. You must make peace with the chaos inside you, the doubt, the fear, the old identities still clinging to the past. You must dismantle the roles you were taught to play, the mask you were handed. You must strip away the external applause until only your essence remains, raw, powerful, silent. It takes courage to become something more than a person, because you will no longer be able to hide. You will no longer be able to explain yourself. A symbol doesn't justify itself, it simply is. And in that stillness, it commands attention. Because it is true, you must ask yourself, who are you when no one is watching? What do you stand for when nothing is left to gain? That answer, not the one you say out loud, but the one that burns quietly in your bones, that is your myth. You must burn the flag of your principles and values, not the one you say out loud, but the one that burns quietly in your bones. That is your myth. That is the energy people will feel when they think of you, and if you do not claim it consciously, the world will assign you one unconsciously, a vague, forgettable role, a replaceable function. But if you walk with intention, if your words, your tone, your silence, your dress, your presence all serve the same core truth, then you will no longer be perceived as an individual. You will become an experience, a symbol, an archetype. And experiences are not chosen casually. They are sought after. They are remembered, desired, protected. There's a deep power in choosing to live mythically. It means your life becomes a message, not in the loud performative way, but in the quiet, deliberate way of a person who knows exactly what they represent and never breaks character. It means your love, your presence, your creativity, your anger, all of it speaks in one voice. That unity, that coherence is rare. And what is rare is luxury. You are not just a body. You are not just a career. You are not just a name printed on a document. You are a symphony of archetypes, a collection of moments, choices, wounds, and rebirths that have carved something holy into your being. You are a storm of story and strength, a soul that has tasted both heaven and hell and chose to rise anyway. That choice alone makes you unforgettable. You do not need to chase attention. You do not need to impress. You do not need to apologize for your intensity. The world may not understand your depth, but that is because it was never meant to. It was meant to feel it, to remember it, to carry it in their chest long after you leave the room. So, from this moment, stop running, stop reaching, instead, attract. Let your presence become a gravitational force, not because you are loud, but because you are clear. Let your truth be felt before it is spoken. Let your silence be as potent as your words. Let every part of you sing the same note. Because the world does not need more noise. It does not need more cleverness. It needs signal. It needs integrity. It needs truth wrapped in human skin. It needs you. Not the diluted version, the real you, the rare you, the luxury, and those who see you, those truly capable of recognizing such power, will never forget you.